Our full team with you. It is 6 a.m. on the East Coast. Great to have your company. 3 a.m. in the West. And Donald Trump has taken his oath of office, becoming the 47th President of the United States, pledging to usher in a new golden age for America in his inaugural speech at the US Capitol.
He did certainly have a lot to say, and here is how it all unfolded this morning.
Donald Trump becomes the 47th President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability,
preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
It's a new era for America with a familiar Commander-in-Chief.
The golden age of America begins right now.
A president so mired in grievances from the past and an inaugural speech looking to the future.
First, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America.
He spoke of fixing the justice system and outlined his immediate plans, including declaring a national emergency at the southern border and changing America's gender policy.
It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male and female.
And some of the biggest cheers from the crowd came when President 47 spoke of the attempt on his life at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania.
My life was saved for a reason. I was saved by God to make America great again.
J.D. Vance, once Vice President-elect, now officially a heartbeat away from the Oval Office.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
There was an air kiss for wife Melania and chants of USA. President 47 shared a ride to the Capitol with his predecessor, Joe Biden. Earlier, the outgoing President and First Lady hosted their replacements at the White House for tea and coffee, a tradition that 4 years ago Trump refused to take part in. Freezing temperatures forced formalities inside for the first time in 40 years. There were only around 800 seats inside the Capitol Rotunda, including more than 500 reserved for members of Congress. This was the most exclusive of guest lists, a who's who of the president's influential inner circle. The titans of the tech world scored some of the best seats. Elon Musk, Apple's Tim Cook, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, Amazon's Jeff Bezos, and the TikTok CEO, Shou Chu. The remaining living former US presidents there too. Barack Obama without his wife Michelle, and Trump's former Vice President Mike Pence also going solo. And from Australia, it was Foreign Minister Penny Wong representing our country. Today was a moment for the history books, and the eyes of the world are watching for what comes next.
For American citizens, January 20th, 2025 is Liberation Day.
Yeah, quite a bit to work through there. Let's go now live to US correspondent Lauren Tomasi at the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Lauren, quite the historic day.
Certainly is, Sarah. Good morning to you. And this really marks the full revolution, the completion of Donald Trump's return to power. President 45, now President 47. Moments after he was sworn in, he began that inaugural address. It was quite lengthy, almost 30 minutes long, which is close to double his address in 2017. That ran about 16 minutes. He began by saying that America was entering a new golden age, but the speech then went quite dark. He painted a picture of an America that only Donald Trump could save, berating the outgoing administration, and all the while you had the outgoing president, Joe Biden, sitting there watching on. I think it's those moments that were inside of the people watching that perhaps the audience hasn't seen this morning. Joe Biden at one point sitting with his chin on his hand as he watched. He and Kamala Harris, his now former vice president, sat there very quietly. They didn't clap often, standing at just one moment to clap for those return of the hostages in in Israel as President Trump addressed that. But look, Donald Trump very much outlining his very busy to-do list and what he aims to achieve today, saying he's going to declare an emergency on the southern border, will be sending the military straight to there, and also saying he'll be renaming the Gulf of Mexico today to the Gulf of America. That actually sparked a bit of a laugh from Hillary Clinton. After this address was all finished up, Donald Trump was straight into the room next door. There was an overflow room there in Emancipation Hall inside the Capitol building behind me here. About 1,800 people were sitting inside, and Donald Trump's speech there was entirely off the cuff. He spoke longer than his actual address that he gave in the inauguration ceremony, and did address the January 6 convicted criminals, the people he calls the January 6 hostages, saying they'll be very pleased with his decisions moving forward today. He has indicated before that he would be issuing pardons, and that seems likely that will come today. So look, a really quite historic day here in Washington, D.C. It is now the era of Donald Trump.
That's for sure. Yeah, and plenty more to come too in the course of the next couple of hours. A number of executive orders to be signed too. So we'll take it. That's the bottom screen there, waiting for all that to happen, plus all the celebrations. Thank you for that. Breaking news also, Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has congratulated US President Donald Trump on his inauguration. He posted to X saying, "The United States is a great friend of Australia's. Our alliance has never been stronger. I look forward to working with you on the opportunities and challenges ahead." All right, so lots more coming up in terms of the coverage. You won't miss a thing. Like I said, there's a number of executive orders that will need to be signed in the next hour or so, we believe. It could be up to 100 signed, who knows, with Donald Trump and what he's got on the agenda. There are also difficulties with that. There's difference between, policy and what he'd like to do and an actual executive order. So,
well, we know he's got a number of priorities to work through, doesn't he? The southern border being one of them, right at the top there. So that will unfold in the next couple of hours. But in the meantime, let's cross to Jane now with some more news.
Yeah, let's get some non-Trump news now, and we will start with breaking news from Sydney's east, where a childcare centre has been gutted by fire and sprayed with anti-Semitic graffiti. Today, Sydney reporter Jack Hahn joins us now from that scene in Maroubra. Jack, forensic teams have now moved in.
Yeah, that's right, Jane. Good morning to you. Police working quickly here this morning. In fact, moments ago, forensics wrapped up their initial investigations here on the corner of Story Street and Anzac Parade in the eastern Sydney suburb of Maroubra. Emergency services scrambling here just before 1 o'clock this morning, finding a firebombing attack on a daycare centre and an anti-Semitic comment which was spray painted on the front of the daycare centre. Police worked very quickly to cover off any sign of that anti-Semitic graffiti, so members of the public could not see it from the street, but it was there. We have also spoken to the owner of the daycare centre. While he did not want to speak on camera, he has pointed out that while this daycare centre does not have any direct connections to the Jewish community per se, quite literally just a few doors up from this location is a synagogue with its own daycare centre. So this morning, that is one line of inquiry for police as to whether or not perhaps this was a mistaken identity attack. But we know that officers are right now trying to find out who is responsible for this firebombing attack, Jane.
So concerning, Jack. Thank you. We have more breaking news now, and the families of 3 Israeli hostages released by Hamas as part of the ceasefire deal have just spoken publicly. Live to 9 correspondent Jessica Millward in Tel Aviv. Jess, you were there. What did they have to say?
Well, it was a really emotional address, and these 3 families that have been brought together by this fight to bring their daughters home, they stood there united as they addressed the media to update everyone on how Romy, Emily and Daron are doing. They are in remarkably good spirits, they said, and they wanted to thank everyone for their support over the 15 months that it's taken to bring them home. Emily is an Israeli British citizen, and her mother thanked many people, including the new President Donald Trump, and she also thanked the Tottenham Hotspurs. Emily is a massive Spurs fan, and over the past few months at their games they have been chanting for her. So let's take a look at what Emily's mum had to say.
As you will have seen last night, she is an amazingly strong and resilient young woman. To the Israeli government, President Biden, President Trump, and leaders and negotiators around the world for making our dream come true. All of you have played a role in bringing Emily home. Thank you from the bottom of our heart. I have one last request for you all. Please keep on fighting for the remaining 94 hostages who need to come home.
We heard from the other mothers as well, and the girls will stay here for the coming days before they are released, and they need to adjust to life out of captivity. In Gaza, the scenes we've seen today are absolutely apocalyptic. The destruction there is extraordinary, but people who have been displaced making their way back to their communities where their homes once stood have said that they slept well for the first time in many months because the sound of war has gone. Aid is continuing to get into the Strip. So far, Jane, this ceasefire is holding, but as Emily's mum said, it remains an anxious wait for the families of the hostages that remain.
OK, Jessica Millwood live in Tel Aviv, thank you. Tough new laws against violent hate speech could soon come into effect after both major parties vowed to act on anti-Semitism. The bill, first introduced in September, remains under scrutiny from the coalition, which says it is ready to pass the laws as long as the government agrees to make it a crime to threaten places of worship, including synagogues. Sydney rail commuters could escape travel disruptions for the time being as rail unions claim a wage deal is extremely close. Discussions will continue today after the RTBU handed its counter-offer to transport officials. As Union State Secretary Toby Warnes signals a deal is not far away. Details of those negotiations are yet to be revealed.